Hello, friends. Today we're going to be looking at a practice called Neti Neti. Neti Neti is a Sanskrit word which can be loosely understood as not this, not that. So what do we mean when we say not this, not that? Any object, it is perceived and therefore it cannot be us. And in Tantra Yoga, when we are speaking of objects, we're not just speaking about, the physical objects that we see around us. We're also speaking about these more subtle objects, such as our thoughts, our emotions, sensations, memories, and so on like this. Energy in the body, all of this is considered to be an object, and it is perceived. And so in a meditation practice where we are practicing Neti Neti, we are inquiring, we're kind of resting as the perceiver, we could say, or the witness, or pure awareness, whatever word really works for you. You're just resting as an observer. And when objects present themselves, we just kind of quietly say to ourselves, not this, not that. Or we could say Neti Neti. Or I will also introduce another way that I like to practice this, which is in the same concept. The traditional way to practice it is to simply say Neti Neti. We can, of course, translate this into English if this is more comfortable for us. But a third way, or another way that I like to practice Neti Neti, running with the same concept, is basically making it very clear to myself, the observer, that something is being witnessed. So often, thoughts, emotions, sensations can present themselves to us and they go unacknowledged, often because we're very comfortable with this stream of thought, with this memory, we're very identified with the sensation or perspective, and so on like this. And so it's a way to help ensure that we recognize that an object is being perceived. And it can be done through Neti Neti, or for myself, I break it down into another way of doing this. And that is when a thought comes, I simply say, thinking, thinking, thinking. 3 times. Thinking, thinking, thinking. And this immediately is a way for me to acknowledge, okay, thought is there. Something's being perceived, and this is not me. But I don't just do it with thinking, thinking, thinking. I also do it with seeing, with smell, with taste, with hearing, and with feeling. Now, feeling, I will also use not just for feeling sensation on my body, but also for feeling emotions. Again, with any of these senses, or with feeling, emotion, or feeling sensation in the skin, I'll just say it 3 times. Seeing, 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 hearing, 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 feeling, feeling, feeling. And then we have, along with the 5 senses, thinking, 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 thinking. I'm going to add one more in there for you, which is maybe you're feeling uncomfortable in your meditation. You're feeling that you need to adjust, you want to grab a chair, move a pillow, whatever it might be. First, you might think that you're feeling uncomfortable. Thinking, thinking, thinking. And then you might feel that you're uncomfortable. Different people, it might appear in different ways. Either way, now you're acknowledging that you're feeling uncomfortable. So you say, feeling, feeling, feeling. And then you decide you feel so uncomfortable that you actually want to adjust the posture. You want to grab a pillow, you want to move your legs, you want to just shift things around. And so thinking, 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 feeling, 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 moving, moving, moving. And then I just come back to purely perceiving. And I just rest in silence. Then when something presents itself again, I acknowledge that my attention is there, either by repeating 3 times, thinking, feeling, seeing, so on, or just Neti Neti. If Neti Neti works for you, just stay with this. Repeating to yourself, Neti Neti, when something appears. And I'll also add, in order for this meditation to be truly successful, there needs to be an earnestness, like a real desire to know yourself. Like, who are you really? And to trust that these practices are tried and true, not just by myself, but we find them being spoken about for generations upon generations, from rishis to sages to saints to great gurus and masters. Neti Neti is a very old practice, and we also find it in the scriptures and ancient texts. And so trust that this has not only worked for myself, it's worked for other people. It's been used again and again, generation after generation. And so if you really, truly want to know yourself, trust in this practice and use it with an earnestness. Of course, there will be those moments where a thought or a sensation, a memory, something comes up that'll really want to pull you away. And if you can, hold strong in the inquiry. You've set aside 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Just that's not a lot of time to just try to discover who you really are. And so when these strong emotions or thoughts or ideas to go for a hike or call somebody appear, you can even acknowledge to yourself, that is a great idea. But I have dedicated this allotment of time to trying to discover my true self. And so for just this 20 minutes, I'm going to put that aside. Neti neti. Not this, not that. Thinking, feeling. And then we return to either resting in ourself or trying to perceive the perceiver. So I also would highly recommend that you try this meditation in both instances, in both doing neti neti, as well as trying this thinking, feeling, so on. And then maybe you'll find one resonates more with you over another, or you'll find one day one worked better and the other day another worked better. Often one technique is not going to solve all of our problems or be the one technique to bring us into complete truth and understanding. It is possible. There are many teachers and sages and saints that we hear of that were given one practice and did use this practice inevitably, only this one thing, and it worked for them. Go into this meditation using either the neti neti or the repetition of what is being witnessed. Trust it to dedicate this time and to also understand that jumping from one to the other, this is also a common thing that the mind will want to do. You do neti neti for the first 5 minutes, and then the mind's like, this, I don't like this. I'm now going to switch to thinking, repeating what I'm experiencing. And then we go back to neti neti, and this also isn't going to work. We need to sit for the 10, 20, 30 minutes with just this one practice. And then maybe later that day or next week, we try the other practice. And so even though I said that no one practice is going to fully deliver us to truth and freedom, there is definitely something to be said for sticking to one practice. Because there will be these times where the mind rises and tells us, now we need to try another teacher, now we need to try another practice, now we need to try blah, 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 right? And so in order to truly reap the benefits and receive the fruits of a practice, we need to persevere through these times when the mind is trying to tell us, switch to another tradition, find another teacher, etc., etc., etc. Find a practice that you find works for you and stick with it even when it doesn't work for you any longer.